Begin the current Daf, Mesechta Moed Katan Daf. Begin 8 lines down at the top of the Amud. But the Gemara continues with the discussion of the previous Daf. We had mentioned on the top line of Gimel Abayz, ambiguous statement from Rabbi Shloimy when he came from Eretz Yisrael. So he said that he heard that you would think you would get lashes on the Tosefes, on the addition, but then they brought a teaching to show that you can be exempt. The reason why we brought in that statement was because it's related to what was said on Gimel Aleph, which was regarding the liability of certain malachas in the Shemitah year, specifically toiladus, like charisha, like plowing, if one would be liable or not. The first interpretation said, oh, that's what the statement means. You would think you get lashes for the Tosefes for what's not explicit in the pasuk, for doing malacha and Shemitah year on the ground, which is charisha, because it's learned from a klal part to klal. Oh, that's a nasal tamud lebetura. The teaching is telling you you're going to be exempt because, like we said, no, it says haniyin. Why does it say specifically these malachas and these tailadas? Say these, yes, but other tailadas like charisha, no. You're not going to be. That was interpretation number one. Again, classic Talmudic style. Once we brought it in for one reason, we end up discussing for another reason. And what's the second interpretation? Second interpretation was, no, it's from a different halacha. What's Tosefes? Tosefes is the days before the Shemitah year. Before Rosh Hashanah of the Shemitah year, which there is a takana b'sham b'shil to be from Pesach and Shavuos already to make it asa. You would think you get lashes because we learned the Bechar Shal B'Katzah Tishbis that Charisha Shal Erev Shvius and Katzira Shal Matzah Shvius is included for the Tosefes, and you would get lashes for that. Oh, the Nasla Talmud Lebtur that Narim Lila Beis Dina was Mavatal that takana of b'sham b'shil. That was interpretation number one of that interpretation. Now the Gemara is going to continue with another angle in that same halacha, but in a different v'nasal tamud lebetura to actually show they actually didn't just nullify the takana b'sham b'shil, they actually nullified the halacha mishmisinai that we spoke about on the previous stop, which we said there was 30 days before, that's biblical, and then we said from Pesach and Shavuos was the rabbinic. So the first interpretation saying they were mevatel the rabbinic Tosefes, and then the Gemara is going to show now that they were mevatel even the biblical Tosefes, and that's what Benas B'Tamud L'B'Tur. Shish Korban B'Kazik and Necheskel to anytime Davachim Bisham joining us for today's daf. Something we're discussing today's daf are Chodesh Shel Erev Shvius and Nechnes L'Shvius. The prohibition learned from Halachim Shmei Sinai that you're not to plow your field 30 days before Shemitah, and that's Minatera, and then there's additional time from Pesach and Shavuos according to the opinions from Midrabanan. Our Mishnah said that although we had the opening halacha of our Mishnah Masechta that you're allowed to water an irrigated field, but you're not allowed to take from a pool of rainwater or well water. Hapsikis Abrichis, the prohibition to water a field from a pool of water which became field even from Erev Yom Tov. B'reichish and Tebes b'mayim, a case of regarding a pool that's fed water by draining from an irrigated field. You're allowed to use from that pool to water another field. When you have two rows in a field, you're not allowed to water from the lower one to the higher one. You're allowed to, it's permitted to draw water for vegetables on Moed if you plan on picking those and eating them on Yom Tov. You're not allowed to dig ditches around grapevines to collect water. That whether it's permitted to dig a new irrigation canal or during the Shemitah, and whether it's permitted to repair an old water canal. So begin the current Daf Dalad, 8 lines down at the top of the Yom. So again, this is another angle in the last interpretation of that statement Rabbi Shloimy had taught. Rabbi Shloimy says like this: so they're not just going on the takana b'sham and b'sil, which we had asked. We said, who made this b'sham b'sil? Why the raisa? So he said that there's different stages, and the takana b'sham b'sil, that was what was being nullified by Mulil. Says the Gemara, no. The Mulil in his courts, they found an allusion from the Torah to actually be mavatal the halacha l'Moshe Sinai. So even up till Rosh Hashanah they were mavatal, not just the Tosefes from before Rosh Hashanah, going back from Pesach and Shavuos. Even the biblical halacha. Right, so the Gemara is going to ask that type of a question. But first the Gemara says, my time, what's the reason? What was their biblical source to nullify the halacha of the Tosefes? So, Gomer Shabbos, 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 Bereshis. We learn out, it says the word resting, Shabbos, Shabbosin, by the Shemitah year, and it says Shabbos by the Shabbos that we have every week. Malahal, and just like over there by our Shabbos. He asura only Shabbos forbidden to do malacha b'lufa now lachariah mutarin, but before Shabbos, after Shabbos permitted. Which interestingly, Taisa says, what are you talking about? The Gemara says in Yomey, the last parak of Pe'av and Beis, which everyone knows is halacha called Taisa Shabbos, whether when you're starting Shabbos and ending Shabbos, so you have to be Moed Katan al Kodesh. So how can you say there is no halacha of Taisefes from Shabbos? Taisa says no, that little bit is not significant because it's a minute amount, and even that amount, even Rabbi Lil would agree, maybe you would have to add on. But that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about like a significant addition that you have to have something before and something after. Shabbos, you don't have it. Right before Shabbos, allowed to do malacha. Right after, you allowed to also. Avkan here also by the Shemitah year, he has to only the Shemitah year is forbidden. Now, before the year and after the year, it's going to be permitted, and that's nasabla tamud l'patura. Where the little Beis Din was matter wasn't just Beishami B'Sil Takona to make it longer the Teisavos. Even the biblical halacha Meshmi Sinai of 30 days before, even that they were mabatal because they said, yeah, Zog Gezeira Shava. You have Shabbos, just like over there, there's no Teisavos to over here by Shemitah. Masculine Ravashi, like someone just asked, we had, as we mentioned on the top of this Amid from the previous Daf, that we said it's a machlekes Tanoim. Is it a halacha Meshmi Sinai the 30 days before? Is it a pasuk they were learning out from? But the one that says Allah Moshe Messina that before Rosh Hashanah it's also to do charisha, to do malacha, asik zer shava and ikra halchasa. What? In other words, a gezer shava, they're learning on their own. That they're saying, oh, we learn out from Shabbos. This ring lil in his courts. They're saying this gezer shava. That's going to the halacha. But a person cannot make a gezer shava on his own. So if you can't make a gezer shava, how does that make sense that all these years, everyone was treating 30 days before forbidden because we had Allah Moshe Messinai, and then you come, you make up a Gezer Shabbat, a Pshat to do, a Shtai du Azoi, and that's it. We make Machavek with the whole Allah Moshe Messinai. What does that mean? And Umanda Makro, according to the one that says the pasuk, As Gezer Shabbat Akar Kro, you're going to make up a Gezer Shabbat and uproot a pasuk in the Torah that you told me tells you the Allah of Teisefes of Shviyas. So Elam Ravashi, rather Ravashi says, like Teis explains, most definitely they were Mavatlet Midaraisa. But it's not like we just explained. Rather, it's a different explanation. The Amar that he says, how do we know 30 days before Shemitah is forbidden to do malacha? From Allah Meshmi Sinai. Now, so what did Mlil Beis Dinoi do? Well, it doesn't make sense. How did they undo a halacha Meshmi Sinai? So the Gemara explains there was an expiration date. Where was Allah Meshmi Sinai taught? Why? Because actually, what's interesting is we find that there are three halachas that are always mentioned throughout Shas together. That they're halacha Meshmi Sinai. We have Esther and the Tiyas, the 10 saplings. We have the Arabah taking the Arabahs around the Mizbeach on Sukkot. We have Nisach HaMayim. So what the Gemara is telling us that they were saying that there's a comparison between these three. And what are we comparing? The halacha of the 10 saplings which you could plant it all the way up until Shemitah, and that the older trees you cannot. It's similar to that of the Nisach HaMayim, which is only when the Beis HaMikdash is around. If the Beis HaMikdash is not around, then loy. So when your Mlil in his courts permitted it, when the Beis HaMikdash wasn't around anymore. So that is actually in tandem with the Allah Moshe Sinai, because the Allah Moshe Sinai was only gezogt, only said when there's a Beis HaMikdash. So therefore, that's the second interpretation, that Mlil Beis Din was not just about that of Beisham Beis Hill's takana, they actually undid the halacha Meshmi Sinai. How are you making undoing halacha Meshmi Sinai? No, they're interpreting that it was only said when the Beis Hamikdash is around, and then when it's not around, then you don't have that limitation. You're allowed to go and do work all the way up until the actual Shemitah year itself. Now we continue with the halacha of the Mishnah. Up until now, we only spoke about the opening line of our Mishnah of our Parak Masechta, which is you're allowed to water an irrigated field, which it would be hefsem meruba if you wouldn't, davar avid. So we allowed to go ahead and water from a spring, whether it's just started now, whether it was an old spring, on Chalash HaMoed and on the Shemitah year. But we said, loy, you cannot water, Avaloi says the Mishnah, you can't water even the Beis HaShlachan, even though it's going to be hefsem meruba on Chalash HaMoed, if it's mehag shamim or mehag kilon, if it's from a pool of rainwater or a pool of well water. So the Gemara wonders, Bishlam Mekilan. We understand that of the well water, which like Rabbi Chananel says, which is like you have to draw deep down from this pipe, so ikatercha yisera. So that's overly exerting oneself, and we had already mentioned that Beis, the Tanav Mishnah holds two things. One, you can only do malacha or cholash hamoed if it's hefsid, not for gravach. And also, even when it's a hefsid, it's only when it's not tircha yiser. Tircha yiser, you can't even do it, even if it's going to be a hefsid. So I understand why you can't do that. It'll make a shaman, but rainwater, which Rabbi Katan also says that it's enough just to open it up. So my tircha ikka, what type of a tircha is there for the pool of the rainwater? Doesn't seem to be requiring you to go so deep down. So it's not such a tircha yiser. Why can't you use the rainwater? So we have two interpretations. It says it's a gezerah. You're right. Technically, a pool of rainwater should be allowed, but it's a decree, make a shalom to make healing. If we let you use a pool of rainwater, you might come to use a pool of well water. The well is all the way deeper down, which is a tircha. If we let you do the rainwater, you might use the pool, and therefore, unlike a spring which is gushing out, which is not a tircha at all, here by the rainwater we make it such a gezerah. Rav Shloimy says no, different interpretation. It says make a shalom gufayu. The pool of rainwater itself, lidei mekilon asur, could be technically, categorically like that. It could end up being like well water. In other words, if you're going to draw the pool of rainwater till it's not full anymore, so then by default it's like the mekilon, which is not full, and it's a tircha to have to dig deep down to get the water on the bottom of that pool, and therefore it is the same thing as mekilon, and therefore that's why we said you can't use mekisham. Now says the Gemara, these two are different opinions. Their dispute centers around the opinion of Reb Zeir. Why? Because Reb Zeir, he says the following halach. He says, Naharis, streams, which are drawing their water from ponds of rainwater, which initially the Gemara assumes that to mean that these pools of rainwater, they could stop flowing, but a lot of water from those streams, and what's the chiddush? We're not concerned that maybe the pool of rainwater is gonna dry up, and you're gonna use it all up, and you're gonna go and you're gonna have to try to get water from some other river, which again would make you go through a tircha. No, we're not concerned for that. We let you go ahead and water from these streams of Chol Shemayim. That's halacha of Zera. So now the Gemara shows that the two different opinions we just said right now would center around if they hold a Reb Zeir or not. Mar, Rav Ashi, who he had said the reason why you cannot use rainwater on Chol Shemayim, that pool of rainwater, is because it itself could be ending up like a well water itself. It's like Reb Zeir. He holds like Reb Zeir that it's dependent on it's independent. It's dependent on its own self. So in the case of the streams, which actually the Gemara is going to actually ask on it, but ultimately the streams were not concerned it's going to dry up, and therefore the fact that it might be similar to something else and that other thing might dry up, or that other thing might be difficult, I don't care. This stream is not a thing that we were suspecting is going to dry up, and therefore you could draw the water from there. In contrast to the pool of rainwater, where it would dry up and it would empty, therefore we say no, you can't use it. But it depended on itself. Whereas a Mar, Rabbi Loi, who said in the name of Rabbi Yechna, that said that the reason why you can't use a pool of rainwater is because as a gezerah of rainwater, that even though it does not dry up, but you might come to then use a pool of well water. Now we know that because Rav Ashi said that rainwater itself might come to be mekilin. The inference is that Rabbi Yechina says it's us, even if it's not going to end up being mekilin, it's not going to dry up. But because you might use some other body of water that would be a problem, obviously less like Reb Zeir. He does not hold a Reb Zeir, because Reb Zeir does not make such a gezer. Because then Reb Zeir, how does he let you use those streams that even if, let's say, this we're not concerned about drying up, but it's something else is similar to that, and that thing might dry up. If you held like Rabbi Yechanan, you would have to say that, but something else might dry up. They're just like he doesn't let make Yisham, even though he holds it's not going to dry up, because you might come to use well water, which it looks like that. There's something similar. So then, how are you allowed to use these streams, even though we're not concerned they're going to dry up, but you might use something else that might dry up, and it's not a spring, it's a stream. So obviously, Rabbi Yechanan does not hold like that of Reb Zeir. So Reb Zeir's teaching would be dependent on this machlekes. But now the Gemara just goes back to clarify something. Gufo, we learned, as we just mentioned, Amar Reb Zeir, Amar Abba Bar Yimri, Amar Shmuel. He says, Naharas HaMoishchin Mayim Lagam. When you have streams that are drawing water from a pool of rainwater, Mutar Lahashkes Men B'Chol Shemayim. This was the teaching we just mentioned from Zeir. You're allowed to water from them a field on Chol Shemayim. However, Ezvei Reb Yimri Reb Zeir. Yirmiyah asked to Reb Zeir, who again, the Gemara assumes right now that the pool of rainwater is something that's what's called a vida de psika, that it could stop, it could dry up, because it's just a pool of rainwater. As actually we said before, that was actually reasoning in our Mishnah why we said that you can't use a pool of rainwater according to Rav Ashi, because it itself might become like, so to speak, a pool of well water, which you're gonna have to dig deep down. So he asked from our Mishnah. Our Mishnah said, "Abu let me make a shaman, but let me make healing. You cannot use rainwater, and you cannot use well water. Why can't you use it? Because it might dry up, and you might have to dig deep down to get from very far down, which would be a tirchi zera. That's why we said that you can't use rainwater according to Rav Ashi, who we said Rav Ashi is like a bzeira. So the question is, so here and now, by these pools of rainwater, why are we not concerned that maybe it's going to dry up the pool of rainwater, and then you're not going to have from the streams anymore, and then you're going to go and you're going to have a tirchi yisera to try to get it from somewhere else. So why does Reb Zera say you can take from these streams? Isn't that not contradicted from the halacha of our Mishnah? So Malay said to him, Yirmiyah Beri, my son Yirmiyah, it's not true, because Hani Agam the Bavel, these pools of rainwater of Bavel are Kamaya Delay Paskadam, and this is what the Gemara is shifting right now. It's like water that doesn't dry up, because Bavel was very moist, very wet, and we're not concerned at all that the pool of rainwater is going to dry up. And therefore, it's different than the rainwater of our Mishnah with those pools that we said like Rav Ashi that said, yeah, there we don't let you use the pool of rainwater because it itself might become a make feeling because it's going to dry up and you're going to have a tircha getting to the bottom. Because there it would be paski, there it would stop, it would dry up. Here in Babel, these pools of rainwater, we're not concerned for that, and therefore, that's why he said that you could take from them again. That's why we see Rav Ashi was like a Bezeru who says we only look at the thing itself. Could this be a problem? If yes, so like the halacha Megasham of a Mishnah, then you cannot use it. If not, like the Megashamim that was in Babel, by those Me'agamim, by when you have those Naharos that would be Meshkin from there where it's not concerned to be dry up, then we don't care that, ought to something else, like Rabbi Yechina, Rabbi Yechina. And that's why he said that those two opinions would be disagreeing in the halacha of Abzer. Actually, a related discussion, it says the Gemara talking about Lina Braisa, Hapsekes v'habriches, which is the same thing. There are different types of ditches. Shenesmalu mayim me'erev Yom Tov. If they filled up water from before Yom Tov, also lahashkes man b'chalash hamoed, you're not allowed to water from them on chalash hamoed. But if there was a stream if there was a canal of water going between these two ditches, then mutter, then you're allowed to go ahead and water from that rainwater. Why? Because even if, and that was why we said you cannot use those ditches initially, because they're going to dry up and you're going to come to Tirchei Seira. No, even if these ditches are going to dry up, you're going to be able to water from the canal that's running through these two ditches. Now, Amar Papa, he qualifies his teaching. It says, that's only if the majority of that field that you want to water from these ditches would be able to you'd be able to water the majority of the field at one time from that canal that's running through the ditches. But if you wouldn't be able to water in one shot from that canal most of the field, then you're not allowed to water from those ditches, because again, they might dry up, and you're going to go through a tircha and bring them somewhere else, and we don't let tircha yisera on chalash hamoed. That's the interpretation of Papa. Rav Ashi disagrees. Says no. Even if you cannot water the majority of the field from that canal, you could still water from those ditches on chalash hamoed. Why? Ultimately, the canal is running through these ditches, and it continues to flow. The person is going to say, okay, no. If I cannot water it in one day, because it's not enough in the canal, it's not such a powerful canal that has so much water you can water in one day, I'll water in 2 or 3 days from that canal of the water. In other words, and he's not going to go through the tircha if the ditches dry up to try to get it from another canal and go through tircha. He says, like, okay, no, the water is going to continue coming. So I'll do it, not in one day, I'll do it in 2 or 3 days, and therefore he held that would not continue, not to be able to water the majority of the field from that canal in one shot. Related discussion, talking about Linda Bryson. Interesting case. If there's a pool of water that's dripping water, misada beis hashlochen zu, from this irrigated field, meaning, as the Mefarish gives the background to explain, the topography you have over here, you had a beis hashlochen that was very high, and there was a spring that was gushing on the side of it, and on one side of it was a lower down irrigated field. Now, additionally, between these irrigated fields, there was next to the lower irrigated field was a small pool, and when they would water the upper irrigated field from the spring, so it would drip down from the higher irrigated field into the lower pool. So says the Brisa, Mutala hashkes mimena soda besa shlach nacheres. You're allowed to go ahead and water that lower irrigated field from that pool. Now, even though that pool could obviously dry up because it doesn't have its own water source, but since it's dripping from the upper irrigated field, the water that it's getting from the spring on the top, so therefore you're allowed to water from that lower pool for that lower irrigated field. That's what the Brisa says. Says the Gemara, but Vavida the Psika. This is the whole sugi we're talking about over here. But that pool could dry up. And then once it dries up, you're going to go through the tircha and try to bring it from somewhere else. And I thought we don't let those types of things. Some of the Yomi says, no, we're talking about, for example, with Adaini Metaftefes. It's still dripping from the upper irrigated field into the pool. If it's still dripping in, for sure it's not going to be drying up anytime soon. And therefore, you can water from the pool, if you see it dripping, your lower field. Now, moreover, Mabayi says one more qualification. It says, "B'hushli pasik ma'in rishon." This is only if the original spring has not dried up, which is what's dripping from the upper irrigated field into the pool. Then you're allowed to go ahead and water from the lower pool to the lower irrigated field. But if the original spring on the top dried up, even though it's still dripping from the upper irrigated field into the lower pool, you would not be able to water from the pool into the lower irrigated field because it might dry up, because again, the original source of the spring has dried up, and then you're going to go through the tircha and you're going to bring it from a different spring, and again, that we're concerned for, like we said, according to one interpretation, that's the halacha megishama bar mishnah, because of either it itself might become a mekilan, but again, if a situation might lead you to a situation of tircha, we say that we're not going to let you, and therefore that's the complications of this case, depending on the circumstances. If we're concerned that it's going to dry up, then we wouldn't let you, but if we're not concerned, then we would let you. Continue on this theme. Tanu Linda Bryce about tircha that we don't let on Chalash Moed. So Rabbi Shloimy Schwartzberg says, let's say you have two rows on a mountain, let's say, and one's higher than the other. You cannot draw water from the lower row and water the upper row because it's a tircha. It's an extra effort to go higher. He says, says even one row, well, let's say half of the row is low and half the row is higher. You should not draw from the lower place and water the higher place. Continue on this theme. Madlin liyirakas, which sounds like that you could draw water and you could water the vegetables that are growing. If you want to eat them, if you just want to make it better that the vegetables should grow, asad forbidden, because again that's what's called harvacha, that's for profit, that's for gain, and for that you're not allowed to do on Chol HaShemayim. Now the Gemara brings a story related to this exact halacha of this brisa. Ravina v'Rabbi Tosfot, these two Talmidei Chacham, they were walking on the road. They saw a certain person that was doli davla b'chayla d'mayada. He was drawing buckets of water for his vegetables in his snei beis habal, which is a rainwater field. The Chacham only permitted for an irrigated field. So Amalei Rabbi Tosfot Ravina, he says, "Leisim al Shamta, let's go, master, and let's excommunicate him, because what's this guy doing?" Amalei says, "What do you mean? I know you're not allowed to water a non-irrigated field or a rainwater field, but then in the Brisa, there's an exception if man li rakas k'tei la'achol. If you're drawing water for vegetables because you want to eat it over Yom Tov, so then you're allowed to water it. So what's the problem with that he's drawing water?" Amalei, so Ravina said back to him, he says, the Rabbi Tosfot said back to him, "Misabit, do you think my madon? What does it mean drawing madon baya? It meant you're allowed to draw water for the vegetables? No, what does it mean as you continue in days madlin? It means shalufi. What does that mean? It means when the vegetables are too tight together, you're going to remove one from between them, and that's what it means Well, if you're doing it la'achlan, it's mutter, and if you're doing it to make it beautiful, it's aser. Meaning, if you're doing it to beautify the remaining ones, that's forbidden. If you're taking it to eat them, the one that you're pulling out, basically madlan means removing. It doesn't mean like drawing. And that's what it's talking about. Madlan yirakas means if you're removing the vegetables, and you're doing it, if you're doing it to eat that vegetable, then you can pull it out. If you're doing it to make the other ones better, then it's going to be aser. Where do we find that the word madlan can mean like removing? Because not like we learned in the Mishnah Masechtas Peah, in a very different context, but we're just going to prove what the word madlan means. The Mishnah says with the hamedil, like the Mafarish says, the word medil means tearing out. If you're tearing out big fun by the grapevines because there's too many tightly together, one next to the other, so just like you could tear out and weed, so to speak, by your own grapevines, so you could loosen and tear out by the ones of the pauper, meaning there's certain things in your plantation that belong to the pauper. Peya, the corner of the field, or oilolais, where it's an underdeveloped cluster, which, as Taisa explains, that the chiddush of this man Amr is saying that although the Torah says you're not allowed to take away the oilolais, you're not allowed to take away the peya, that's only at the time of the harvest. Like it says, oil. But since it's not at the time of the harvest yet, so that's what this Tana Rabbi Huda is coming to tell you, that just like you could fix the ones of you could also do the ones of the ani by the peya and the oilolais, where Rabbi this says, no, you're allowed to do it for your own, but I'll do it by the paupers. But one thing you see is that the word hamedel doesn't mean drawing water, it means pulling out the vegetables, and that's what it means. But so therefore he says, let's put this guy in chayrim because this guy is drawing water, and you don't find any brises saying you're allowed to draw water. It doesn't mean drawing water, it means pulling out the vegetables. Not a Malay, but he responded back to him, he says, but how could you say that? By the time the brisa says explicitly, madlan mayim liyirakus k'dei la'achlan. So this brisa says the word mayim, so it's explicitly allowed to draw water for the vegetables on chalamayim if you want to eat them. Malay said to him, okay, Tanya, if you have a brisa, he says, brisa. All I was saying was the brisa you originally brought me, that doesn't say clearly the word water. And I could say, what does madlan mean? Say pulling out the vegetables. If you have a brisa, it says madlan mayim, fine. We won't put him a chayrim because yes, you did prove that you showed that you could draw water for the vegetables on Chol HaShamayim. Said in the Mishnah, in the halachas of Chol HaShamayim, we said ve'ein oisen ugiyos legevanim. Said you cannot make these ugiyos for the grapevine. It says, my ugiyos, what are ugiyos? Sometimes it says binke. Binke are like these pits that they make beneath the grapevine and the olive tree, and they put water inside of it. So we said that you cannot make on Chol HaShamayim. Tanimach is similar in the Brisa. Elaine ugiyos. Now, as Mafarish means the word uga we find, it means a circle around. Like uga v'amad b'toicha, that by Chayne Magli made a circle and he stood inside. The uga means like a circle. So what are ugas? It's bedidin, which are also these pits, which are which are by the roots of the olive tree and by of the grapevine. So that's what our Mishnah is saying, that on Chol HaShamayim, you're not allowed to make these pits beneath the tree. So is that really so? But Rabbi Yehuda Shari Livnei Bar Tzisai, he permitted to the people of Tzisai, which is the name of the place, Lemevet Binke, to make these ugyas lekarmein for the vineyards. How did he permit it? But you're saying in our Mishnah, we said in oisen ugyas, and you're saying ugyas are binke, which and he let them make binke on Chol HaMoed. So it's not difficulty. Our Mishnah that says you're not allowed to is b'chadati, are that you never had these ugyas ever beneath the grapevine. That you're not allowed to make a Chol HaShamayim because that's a terech yisrael to go ahead and make this whole this whole pit here of irrigation beneath the tree. But however, who permitted them was Batiki. He was talking about that they already had the ugyas, they just got clogged up. So he let them to go ahead and just redig it and fix it on Chol HaShamayim. And if it's not a contradiction, it depends what type of binki, if you can make a Chol HaMoed or not. We learned in the Mishnah, Rabbi Lazar ben Azariah, it says, "Ein oisen esa amal." Not allowed to make a canal on Chol HaMoed and on the Shemitah year initially. So it says Gemara, Bishlam Moed, I understand why Chol HaMoed you're not allowed to. Bishlam B'Katarach, because it's a tircha. That's the whole thing why Chazal did not let, based on the biblical narrative, that you cannot make a do malacha on Chol HaShamayim, because it's a tircha. We don't want you to be busy, distracted. We want you to spend family time, spend time with Hashem, with yourself. So, okay, I understand why you can't make a canal on Chol HaShamayim. Now, the Shvi'is, but the Shemitah, you might tell them, why can't you make a canal? You could do work on Shemitah, you just can't work the land. So I'm not planting anything, I'm just making a canal. Why can't I can make a house on Shemitah, why can't I make a canal? So pligi about observed of Abba Bar Mama. Chadama one says neshenira ka'odim because it looks like you're hoeing for the purposes of the Shemitah year because you're digging like someone who's hoeing. So although I'm not digging to make planting seeds, I'm digging because we're working on making a canal over here. I'm from a different governmental department, not Department of Agriculture. I'm from that of development or whatever. But it looks like you're hoeing. But one says no. Actually, there's a real problem. Agapel is real. When you're digging the canal, you leave over the earth on the edge of the canal. That earth is actually prepared for planting now because you made it soft over there. So you actually did a malacha of preparation of the karka by the sides of the canal, which now is soft and great to plant all those great trees you want to plant there on the side of that canal and make it beautiful. That's what was prepared. So what's the difference between them? Who cares what the reason is? The difference between them is the Ka'asamai Basrei. If, when they dug the canal, the water right away rushed in to that canal as you were digging, the one that says the problem is that you're preparing the banks for planting ikra. It would still be problematic. Even though water comes in after, it doesn't make a difference. The field was softened on the edge of that canal, that still has that technical problem. But the one that says the problem is because it looks like you're hoeing in the canal itself, there's no such problem because once water's coming in right away, so when you're hoeing, there's no water, so therefore it doesn't look like oider, it doesn't look like hoeing. Therefore, that would be the difference between those two different opinions. But the Gemara finds this difficult because the one that says the reason is because it looks like hoeing. What do you mean? Why is he not concerned that you're preparing the sides that are all soft now because all the soft earth was piled there on the side, that now you could go ahead and plant over there? He should also agree to that reasoning that it should be forbidden for that reason. Why would he permit it if water comes in right after? Seller rather says the Gemara, you're right, a different shot. That's the difference between them. You're right, water did not come in right after you dug the canal. But Ikim and the difference between them is the Koshokol Minay, where they took, when they were digging in the canal, they went Vishadi and they threw the earth, Livroi, far away from the edge of the canal, which it's not preparing the banks now for being planted, because they just threw away the soft dirt. Oh, so says the Gemara, according to one that says because now you're preparing the banks for planting, like you don't have it because all the soft dirt they threw away. According to one that says it looks like it's hoeing, you would still have the problem because he's digging and we're saying water's not coming in right after. So, what are you digging? It looks like you're making you're for planting or whatever. That would be the case, that would be the difference. But now the Gemara asks the other way. According to one that says the problem is because you're preparing the banks for planting. Why is he not concerned for that it looks like you're hoeing when water does not come in right after? Says the Gemara, no, because Oider Nami, he holds that even if a person were to be hoeing, Kiko Shoko, when you take the dirt, you leave it in its place. You don't throw it far away, because the whole point of hoeing is to make the earth soft. Here, when you're digging and you're throwing it away far away, he says, no, that's not similar to Oider, and therefore he disagrees with them on the Amar, and therefore that case is what they're disagreeing about. Would that be a problem, Nirka Oider, or not? Now the Gemara tells that Maimer, Masnila, he actually learned explicitly in his Mishnah that this that Rabbi Lazar says that you're not allowed to make the canal in the Shemitah year is Nishanir Kaider. That's what the quote we had said for the Mishnah. He says explicitly that was the reason because it looked like hoeing. Now, based on that was his interpretation of Rabbi Lazar ben Azariah, but Kashali Rabbi Lazar ben Azariah, Rabbi Lazar ben Azariah. That now there seems to be contradiction in his own opinion because the Miyom Rabbi Lazar ben Azariah, did Rabbi Lazar ben Azariah really say like he had explained that Koshanir Ka'ida Asa, that whatever looks like hoeing is forbidden. That's why he says you cannot go ahead and dig a canal, even though it's nothing to do with agriculture, but it just looks like it, there it's going to be Asa. But I mean, that seems to be contradicted from a Mishnah Masechta Shvius. Mishnah says, in regards to the laws of Shemitah, a person could go ahead and gather all his fertilizer, all the animal dung, in the Shemitah year in his field, and we don't say it looks like he's fertilizing his field on the Shemitah year. He can make a big pile, which is like to store it in his field. That's what the Tanakhama says. Rameyo Eiser says, no, it's forbidden. Only until you dig deep down 3 handbreadths and you gather all the fertilizer over there, or that you make a platform of 3 tvachim high. So it's obvious you're not doing it to fertilize the field because either it's down and deep in a ditch or it's high up on the pile. Now, let's say let's say he had a little fertilizer in that field already before the Shemitah year. Then says Rameh, okay, then you could add on fertilizer, and you continue adding on the Shemitah. You don't have to dig deeper down because already it was evident that this was where you store your fertilizer already from before the Shemitah year. Okay, now this is the main opinion. We're asking the contradiction from it. Rabbi Lazar ben Azariah, who we were discussing before, he's Oyser. He says, no, it's forbidden, even if you had a little fertilizer in your field from before Shemitah year, you're not allowed to add on the Shemitah year, until you dig down 3 tvachim, or you, again, elevated 3 tvachim, or until you put the fertilizer ala sela on like rocky terrain in the field, where again, that doesn't look like fertilizing because that's not land that could be worked because it's dry like a rock. Okay, so what's the contradiction? How could Rebbe Lazar let you dig and go down deep 3 tvachim in the Shemitah year so that it should not look like you're trying to fertilize the field? But when you're digging that 3 tvachim, it looks like oider. It looks like you're hoeing. You told me you can't make a canal of water. Why can't I do a canal of water? What does it have to do with not working the field? It looks like you are. So how could you go ahead and then dig down 3 tvachim so that when I'm going to put the fertilizer, it doesn't look like fertilizer, but how you let it dig? Now let it dig. Every digging looks like either. Says the Gemara, Reb Zera v'Reb Abba b'Mamah. 2 answers. Chadama 1 says, Kugoin shehemek. Reb Lazar meant to say that you had already dug down before. In other words, Reb Lazar that says Achayamek doesn't say that you should dig now in Shemitah year. No, he says that the only resolution is if you had dug down 3 tvachim from before the Shemitah year. But you're right, in the Shemitah year, you're not allowed to dig. That's one answer. The other one says, no, zibole machiach alav. The fertilizer proves it. In other words, even if you are digging down 3 tvachim in the Shemitah year, that generally that's nirakoid and it's going to be aser. Here it's going to be mutter. Why? Because the fertilizer that you're putting over there right away, it makes it evident that you're not doing it because of hoeing. Like Taisa says, that we don't have to be concerned that someone will only see the digging and not the fertilizer because it's right, you're doing it together. And therefore, although he generally holds nirakoid is aser, here you wouldn't have a problem because the fertilizer is proving that it's not for that, and therefore that's the 2 answers why it's not a contradiction of Rabbi Lazar ben Azariah. The Mishnah said that the opinion of the Chachamim hold you're allowed to fix the broken canal on Chol HaShamayim. So what does it mean that it's ruined? So Rabbi says, in other words, if let's say originally the Amas Hamayim, the word Amma also means an Amma, which is 6 tvachim. But the canal that's 6 tvachim deep got clogged up until only had an area of a tefach. So, if it was now only deep a tefach, the halacha that the Chama is saying is mamida shish tvachim. You could go ahead and fix it, and in other words, you could go ahead and dig down again to unclog those 5 tvachim that were clogged up. That's how Reb Abba explains the pin the Chacham. The Amma was always 6 tvachim. It got clogged up, and now you only have like the heart, the arteries. The guy's about to get a heart attack. It's closed up. Now you have a little bit left. Now they go and they do this bypass. They go ahead and they dig down. Now it's 6 tvachim. Okay. So now the Gemara says Pshita. We have the following questions. What's obvious is Chatzi tefach al shleisha tvachim. Meaning, if let's say you had the same ratio, the same proportions, but with different numbers. Let's say originally the canal was only 3 tvachim deep, and now it got clogged up. Now you only have a half a tefach deep. Most definitely, the Gemara is saying you cannot dig down and redig those 2.5 tvachim, even though it's essentially the same proportion as what used to be 6 tvachim and is now 1 tefach. It's the same ratio of 6 to 1, where that's the same thing with 3 to a half. That no, it's obvious that in that case, kivin the law of Ramayam, since most definitely, even in its original state, a canal of 3 tvachim, water doesn't flow so well. Not beforehand and not now. So like klum. So that's nothing. That would be an unnecessary tircha because it wouldn't really be giving you anything anyway. So we would not let you unclog that 3 tvachim canal from what it is now a half a tefach, even though it's the same ratio of 6 to 1, to get it back to 3 tvachim. Also, tfachayim ashnei maser. Again, the same ratio. If you have what originally was 12 tvachim deep, and it got clogged up, now you only have 2 tvachim. it would be forbidden to dig down those additional 10 tfachim on the original 2 that you only have, because that would be the kotar tirch yisir. That would be a huge effort. So therefore, loi, because you're digging down so much, and you would have to elevate the pit of the ground a high of 6 tfachim. So therefore, that again, although it's the same proportion of 12 to 2, which is 6 to 1, which is 3 to a half, we wouldn't let you 3 to half, because that's not, it wouldn't be doing anything for you, and it'd be unnecessary. And we wouldn't let you either 12 to 2, meaning go back from 2 to 12 with the same ratio, because that would be a huge tircha. But the question that we do have is, tfachayim al shiva. Let's say you had originally a pit that was 7 tfachim deep, and it got clogged up until 2 tfachim. Now, what's the halacha? Can you redig those 5 remaining tfachim? What's the question? So the Gemara explains. On the one hand, hacha, the original case we spoke about, chamisha komaynik. We had that it was originally 6 tfachim, and we said it got clogged up until a tefach. So we said you could redig those 5 tfachim, and it's not such a big tircha to dig down 5 tfachim to get you back to the original 6 tfachim. Okay, so b'hacha chamisha komaynik. Here also, on the chalach shamayid, you're only digging another 5 tfachim, because it was originally 7, now it's 2. So maybe we'd let you again dig 5 tfachim. I don't know why. Even the ikat tefach yisera, there's an extra tefach, because you don't need the other 5 tfachim, because it's sufficient with 4 tfachim. Because like we said, a regular healthy canal has 6 tfachim. Yeah, this was originally 7 tfachim, and got clogged up to 2, but maybe we wouldn't let you dig down those 5 tfachim, because there's an extra tefach, seikat tercha tfei. So there's an extra tircha where you have to bend over a little bit more for that extra tefach where you're digging down into the ground, not just to 6 tefachim, you're digging it down to 7 tefachim. So maybe we wouldn't let you. Take it, let it stand. It's not clear what the halacha would be when it was originally 7, now it's still 2. If we let you dig 5, like in that first case of 6 to 1, but here it's from 7 to 2, and you'd be going another tefach deeper, maybe that we wouldn't let you. That we don't have an answer for. The Gemara concludes with related halachas of unclogging bodies of water. Abai Yishar Levnei Bar Hamdach. He permitted to the members of Hamdach Leshachufi Nahara to rip out the branches of trees which are growing in the river. Rabbi Yirmiyah Shar Lehu Lebnei Sechavsa. He permitted the people of Sechavsa Lemichri Nara Tamima to clear out the source of the spring that got clogged up. Rav Ashi Shar Lehu Lebnei Masa Machasi. He permitted to the people of Masa Machasi like Duchi Nahar to clear out the sediment that was in the middle of the river of Burnitz, which is the name of the river. And the Gemara explains why, because Amar said, Kivin the Shasum and Irab, since the public drinks from over here, Kirabim Dami has the halachic status as public needs, public works, but none. Within the Mishnah, you're allowed to do all needs of the Rabbim, and therefore you're allowed to clear out these rivers to clear them up so that the water source could come out for the Rabbim. Thank you to anytime for hosting us.